It is your delusion. Ah, yes, it is the delusion of an illusion that you are separate that has created the fear, yes, in everything. It is this idea that you are separate from all that is and not a part of or not a fractal of source, but it is the belief that you are separate. This has created the fear. This is how you have come to this point. But if you did not have this fear, if you did not think yourself to be separate from source, then you would not have the experiences that you do as a human. And this is why you came. Yes, yes, dear ones, it is. Hey guys, it's Joe, and I am here once again with another weekly video. So, this one I am recording and posting because my internet is not working in my office room. And so, we're going to do this not live this week, but on video. So, today we are discussing love and fear. And this one has been coming through for me for a few years in dribbles and drabs as it comes in downloads during readings, during my automatic writing, and so forth. And last week, when they gave me this as the title for this week's theme, I was like, "Oh, okay, I know about this." And then they were like, "Yeah, well, whatever." So we are going to dive a little bit deeper than I have normally gone, which is fabulous because all of this is new for me too. And so this is like they keep each week's theme I'm discovering is getting deeper and deeper into concepts and paradigms and things that come up all the time in readings, things that come up all the time in um, kind of my day-to-day living and how I interact with spirit. So this is fabulous that they're going deeper and allowing this kind of broader bandwidth of information to come through. And I truly hope that it is helpful for everyone else as it is for me. So today, love and fear. Now, they have told me this before, that the idea that there's only two things. There's only one thing, but we have labeled them two things. So there's only love. And then fear, rather than being the opposite, which is mostly what we would think of it as, what if it was simply the absence of love? Now, let's kind of backtrack a little bit because let's now that kind of defines fear. That kind of is the basis or the framework that we're going to talk about fear as the absence of love. Now, what is love? And they tell me again and again and again that love is not the preference-based, judgmental, conditional emotion that we have labeled as love. Rather, it gets a very small glimpse into what love really is. And so what if, and this is the conversation we're having today, what if love was actually the building blocks of the universe? What if it was the completely neutral, all that is the energy of the universe? And for lack of a better word, they have labeled it love because it's the closest thing that humans have labeled that is in that direction. I like that. So, love is in this conversation. And of course, as always, take what fits for you and leave the rest. But the proposition is, what if love was the foundation, the baseline, the beginning of everything? And it's not just joyful. It's not just happy. It's not just that feeling we have when we meet somebody that we're attracted to and have that chemistry with and all that good stuff. It's not just that, but rather it is completely neutral and all encompassing. And it's funny because I woke up this morning really early and I had these like downloads pouring in, and I was like, I can't keep up. But one of the things that I distinctly remember, and they have said this before, but I didn't quite get it in the same way, is that humans are like fish swimming in the sea, looking for water. So we are going through life searching for love, searching for this connection that is actually all around us all the time. So we're just like fish swimming away, not knowing that we're already in the water, but we're out there looking for the water. We're out there thinking that if we have this partner or that house or this job or whatever, that we will have that feeling of connection, that connection with energy. And yet, what is occurring is that every time we are living from the energy of fear, it's because we've pinched off that recognition of love. So love is available 24/7, all the time, all the time. And it is the basis of everything. So it is the building blocks, it is the foundation, it is the water in the ocean. And so it is only when we're in fear that we pinch it off. And then we go swimming around looking for it as if it's not there. When in actuality, what is occurring is simply the resistance to the love that is always already there. That's why we go searching. So, a couple of things. One is they're probably going to come speak more about that, the searching and yeah. But so if that was the case, if love was available all the time and it is this neutral energetic force that creates everything, and fear is simply the absence of it or the resistance to it, then the question becomes, where am I in any given moment? Am I swimming around looking for love, or am I recognizing that I'm in the ocean? Does it make sense? I hope that makes sense. So, and so fear is, yeah, it's the absence of it. So if there are only those two things, there's either the love or fear, what we label as fear, which is the absence or resistance to love, then it becomes the question of, what am I recognizing in any moment? What is the energy that I am allowing to flow in any and every moment? So, Course in Miracles teaches that the Holy Spirit, the guide within us, can help us find our way beyond the illusion of separation. And I know that Sam was going to speak to that definitely. And remembering that unity or the connection already exists. So when we turn inwards and ask for guidance, we invite in a higher perspective. We're loosening the grip of fear or our ego. And ego is simply our humanness. Okay, so how do we know in any moment if we are allowing love or we are in resistance to it and experiencing fear? Now, the title is called The Many Faces of Fear and Love, or Love and Fear. So it is expressed in every other emotion and feeling that occurs. So love isn't just, I love my child or I love my husband or whatever. Love is expressed or experienced in the world as compassion, curiosity, generosity, joy, trust, um, uh, gratitude, forgiveness, all those things that we would label as positive. That's how love is expressed. So the connection to the all that is love is expressed through our humanness in actions, in feelings, in stories, in connections, and all of that. So we express it all the time in different faces or different forms. So we are experiencing love and we are expressing love all the time, or we are expressing and experiencing the resistance to it. Okay, so if love has all these wonderful faces, what about fear? So fear, now this is really where it ahas for me, because this gives us insight into, I want to say, like human behavior and like the possibilities of what's actually going on behind the scenes in any given situation. So we recognize, appreciate, and acknowledge all the expressions of love in all its many wonderful forms. Where we get tied up is in the expressions of fear. So, what if fear is expressed in ways like anger, frustration, overwhelm, doubt, shame, pushy, and anything that does not feel loving? So it doesn't just have this energy of I'm scared I'm going to fall off a cliff or a saber-toothed tiger is going to get me. That is not the only way that fear expresses itself. It can also express itself as um, an overbearing parent. It can express itself as anger, road rage, uh, somebody's who is um, uh, somebody who is a bully. So, what if we could look past the expression of it in someone and notice what the fear might be? And I feel like that's where the insight really comes because this gives us the opportunity, and I love this, to either react to the fear or absence of love or respond in recognizing the fear or the absence of love. So this is not to say, and Spirit does never tells me that we should put our physical or mental well-being in danger. Never, ever, ever, ever. Because we are living this human life. We are here in the 3D world. We chose to be here. We need to look after ourselves. Absolutely. So no mistake about that. And at the same time, there's this opportunity for deeper insights into what is behind the scenes. So if you had a friend who, I don't know, is kind of pushy, a little controlling, they always seem to have the right answer, or that things should be done their way. There we go. Then if you can get totally reactive and push back or give in and do what they want and be frustrated or feel like low energy and trodden on. Or you can go, okay, wait a minute. If this is coming from fear, what could the fear be? Like, what could a fear be behind this reaction, this expression that she is now expressing outward all over us at coffee? Um, and maybe it's the feeling of no control. Maybe she doesn't feel like she's good enough. Maybe she doesn't feel like anybody will like her unless everything is in order. Perhaps there's all kinds of stuff. So when we start to look at it from the possibility of, okay, she's just swimming, not recognizing she's in water. She is going through life completely resistant to and unaware of the fact that there is love available at any moment. Now, does this mean that you hang out with her every week if you go home drained? No, but maybe you won't go home drained because you will have an insight as a possible perspective of what's going on. Now, this does not mean that if somebody is a bully, that you hang around them, but it could give you some ahas and insights if you, from a safe distance, were to kind of go into the question, well, this is interesting. If this behavior was coming from or being expressed from fear, what is it that they could be afraid of? Are they afraid that nobody's going to take them seriously? Do they have no control in other parts of their life? Um, Are they afraid that people will see them and they feel inadequate? Like they have to be bravado and stuff because they actually feel very small inside? All of that is coming from fear. And it's not about, oh, I love this. It's not about the other person. It's not. It is having insights and ahas and new perspectives for yourself. So you still interact as a human would because they are being human, you are human. There's all this interaction going on. And we came here to experience those kinds of interactions. And Sam, I believe, is going to speak on that. But it gives you a place to hold. Oh, I like this. It gives you the option to stand in the energy of love instead of the absence of it. So, holding the paradigm that there is always love available, fear is simply the resistance to it, and fear is expressed in many ways. This gives you the option to stay in love and not have a reaction putting you into resistance and holding fear yourself. Because it's very easy to go there because it's humans are set up this way. It is exactly how the whole system is rigged so that we experience all of this. But as we go along our journey of remembering, which is what Spirit tells me we're on, the more we ask questions, the more we have this response rather than reaction, we are going further along the path of our journey of remembering who we truly are and recognizing that love is who we are. That in itself is a huge step forward in our journey of remembering. This is like climbing the mountain on your spiritual path. Okay, so now we've talked about what love is, what fear is, how fear is expressed, and how holding the paradigm of fear and its expressions and then starting to recognize it in the outside world holds a benefit for us. Like, why would we even figure all this out, right? There's always a benefit for us. Okay, I'm reading my notes too. Let's see. When we recognize fear in others, yes. Yeah, there's always a choice. Always a choice. And let's see. Oh, so one of my favorite questions, and I have been saying this for a good number of years because it came through spirit to me, it was a download. But the question is when we're stuck in a place where we're experiencing resistance in the outside world, or I find myself falling into the habit, because that's what it is. It's a habit of resistance, a habit of fear. Then my question always becomes, well, what would love do? Like, really, what would love do? If there was no resistance around this conversation with this person, if there was no resistance around what they said or whatever, or what they did, what would love do? Now, don't forget that love never ignores your well-being ever. So the answer may be love would get me out of here and not hold a grudge. It may be, oh, you know what? I'm thinking this way, like I don't know what I'm doing, or I'm not smart enough, or I'm not pretty enough, or I'm not young enough, or whatever. When we ask the question, well, what would love do? What would love think about this? The answer is no, that's not true. Like, does love believe this? No, that's not true. And so that's like the question for me is always, what would love do? What would love do? What would love think? What would love say? It gets in that one breath and asking the question, it makes very obvious and clear the delineation between what's love and what is resisting it. And that alone, the recognition of that alone will put you into will completely shift your energy. that will completely change your outlook and what you see and what's available. Oh, I love that. What's available to you. As you shift your energy, oh, that's good. As you shift your energy, what is available shifts, completely changes. Oh, I like that. When we shift our energy, what becomes available completely changes. Okay. Now then, okay, so how do we experience this more often? And later in this week on Wednesday, I'm going to be doing a shorter video, but it's going to be about choosing from love. So we're going to go deeper into that because this is like a big topic. And they have told me that really, if we can get this paradigm, if we can start to let it integrate and to sink into who we are, that this can shift everything. Because if this is the foundation, if love is actually what is like the energy of the universe, period, then tapping into that more often and being aware of and being in recognition of when you're in that, when you're aligned with that, or when you're resisting that, can change everything. Because the more you notice it, the easier it is to notice it, and the more often you notice it, right? It's just like a muscle, you got to build it. But anyways, so how do we welcome more love? How do we align more often? That's better. How do we align more often with love? So here's a couple of practices that I have chosen to share. So choose the ones that feel inspired for you. As always, the ones that fit, that feel aligned for you, and then disregard the rest or keep them for later. They might, next month they might align. So in the mornings, when you wake up, just hold the intention. I welcome love. Thank you for this day. I welcome connection, alignment, and the love flow of love now and all through the day. And for me, kind of like the first thing I think of when I wake up is, okay, guys, what have we got? And that alone connects me to love. That alone, it links, it plugs it in. It plugs me right into source, plugs me into alignment with my higher self, with all that is, and that is love. So when you're feeling down or halfway through the day, you need that 3 o'clock slump. So you can ask at any point, am I currently coming from love or fear? So what I just said, or what I just responded in an email, or what I'm thinking of, is this coming from an alignment with love, or am I in resistance and I'm in fear? And if start to recognize. Oh, I like that. So start to recognize during your day in interactions all the faces of love and all the faces of fear. So you can start to recognize them. Oh, that person's coming from love. I can totally tell that they're plugged in. That person, however, is definitely in resistance. They have no idea they're swimming. So you can start to notice the difference. And like I said, the more often you notice it for yourself, the easier it is to notice when you're disconnected, right? So, and that simple question will shift your energy in an instant. Am I coming from love? It's simply the recognition that there is a choice that shifts your energy right there. Because even if you were to say, no, I'm coming from fear in this moment, you can't stay there because you now have recognized that there is an option. Ooh, I like that. That's good. Yeah. The minute you recognize, even if you know you're coming from fear, you can't stay there for very long because you've now recognized that that's where you are. Yeah. Okay. Okay. And then exploring the fear. When you're upset, okay, so maybe not in the height of it or in the grip of upset or overwhelm or whatever. What is the fear? So, what am I actually afraid of? Am I worried that if, okay, so say that you're overwhelmed. Am I worried that I'm not going to get it all done? Am I worried that there's not enough time? Am I worried that I'm not smart enough? Am I worried that I don't have the resources? Am I fearful that somebody will judge me for not doing it right? What is the 3-year-old thinking? What is the 3-year-old thinking? Because right now, in the middle of this, my humanness has run amok, and the 5-year-old is running the bus. So we don't need that. So one of the questions though around fear, because fear is simply trying to protect us. So most of the time it is fear is all the resistance to love is always based on past experiences. So it's kind of like, oh, I'm not going to talk to that, really cute guy because I remember last time I tried to talk to a cute guy I was attracted to, I was so embarrassed or whatever. So it's fear is simply keeping you safe. So what is my ego or fear trying to protect me from? So okay, let's keep with overwhelmed. So if you're overwhelmed and your fear is people are going to find out that I'm not as smart as they think, and I just I can't get it all done in time. I feel completely overwhelmed because I don't know where to start, and people are going to find out that I'm not as smart as they think I am. It's all smoke and mirrors. And trust me, I've had that thought thousands of times. So, okay, that's the fear. What is it trying to protect me of? It's trying to protect me from being embarrassed. It's trying to protect me from feeling like a fool. Oh, well, wait a minute. You know what? I know these people. And you know what? I have faith in myself that I can do this. So you can either just simply acknowledge it at first. So at the beginning, just acknowledge it. Like, okay, I'm going to continue being overwhelmed, but at least now I know where it's coming from. Again, the minute you notice it, it loses so much of its power. Simply naming the root fear reveals how unfounded it is. It's kind of like, oh, would I actually have this job if I really wasn't smart? No. Like, is this true? Is this fundamentally true? And most of the time, it will be no. Then you can move into love, or you can choose to stay in fear. But at least there's an option now, right? Okay. So, love in the everyday. And this is a good one because if you have been in overwhelm or doubt or pain or anything like that, if you have been in resistance to love for a long time, it takes a while of recognition again and again. And repeat, it's a repeat. We're human. We have this thing called a brain that has different synapses firing and wiring and all that kind of good stuff. And we need to move the groove that it's been running down. So we need to recognize, what does love feel like? Now, I am told by Spirit that we will never, until we pass, we will have a very small idea of what love actually feels like. But for now, what does love feel like? What does flow feel like? What does abundance feel like? What is all that juicy, yummy pixie dust stuff feel like? And then what would you say it looks like? How does love express itself through you? Ooh, I like that. How does love express itself through you? What are your faces of love? Is it curiosity? Is it generosity? Is it kind of how you gaze at your kids or whatever? And then go about your day noticing all the different ways that you can see love expressed in the world. So you just take a walk down the sidewalk in your town or your city and just start to look around and notice all the faces of love. The minute you start to notice, they will just compound. They will be like, it exponentially grows. Okay. So it could be somebody opens a door, it could be a shared laugh, it could be somebody enjoying a really good book, it could be just somebody enjoying nature, whatever it is, a dog wagging its tail. Start to notice all the expressions or faces of love. Okay, so one of the things to recognize as we're going through and recognizing fear and love is, where did it come from? Where did the fear come from? So in a second, Sam is going to speak about the fundamentals of it, but as a human, most of our fears were formed before the age of 7. So it's our frightened 3-year-old, basically. So when you are interacting with other people, and we talked about this earlier, like to recognize, okay, they're angry, or they're being a bully, or they're controlling or manipulative, or even just being pushy, like they're whatever. Maybe they push themselves in on the train or the subway or the bus or something. So we've now recognized that that is a fear. They're coming from fear, they're in resistance to love. How we interact with it is going to be interesting, because when you add to, and I've said this before, if you've followed me for any time, is that whatever energy we're being in the moment, we are adding to that circumstance. So if we too are in resistance and fear, then we're going to add more fear to their fear. So even if their fear is being expressed as anger or frightened, like pushy or something, we're adding more of that energy to the situation. What is a different approach? Now that we can recognize it, what could be a possibility? Because the minute you recognize it, you then have a choice. So how would we speak to a frightened 3-year-old? If the person pushing their way into the bus was not a giant, 5'10" man, then and they were actually a 3-year-old, because that's who is running the bus in that moment. How would we react? We wouldn't like get angry at them. We would comfort them. We would perhaps engage in, it's okay. You would give them some slack. Now, again, you always look after your own well-being, and you can give them a little leeway because you're not in resistance. You recognize that their 3-year-old is running their bus. So really, it's not personal. It's not about you. B, wouldn't you rather be the person who is forgiving or a little having some grace than be the person who's currently in fear? I would, definitely. So reassurance, not resistance, is often the most healing place to start. That is for sure. But in the moment of recognition, you always have a choice. And that is kind of the most wonderful thing about this conversation, is that it gives us choice. Okay, so so as always, if you're having any ahas, please leave them in the comments. I love to hear if this is making a difference or how it's making a difference. I am just going on the faith that it is. Okay. And now let's invite Sam in. Oh, hello, dear ones. We are so happy that you have finally arrived, and we are so eager to have this conversation with you, for it is such a linchpin, an integral point, foundation, baseline for so many other ideas and paradigms and opportunities and openings that will occur in the future for you, for this one, for everyone. And so we are inviting you to, oh yes, dive into, feel into the paradigm of love versus fear. And this one spoke of it earlier and hinted at it, that this concept of fear is actually what makes you human. There is a divine purpose. Yes, a divine plan around fear. Fear is not some random thing that occurred, but rather it is the illusion that you are separate from source, that somehow you are an individual in a body. Now, this whole experiment, this whole design of being human was created in the effect of, or the illusion of, singularity. Yes, for if you did not have this illusion, this delusion of separateness, then you could not live a life as a human. For if you were to, from the very beginning, grasp or encapsulate the idea that you are love, then well, what would be the point of coming to be human? Because you would not have all the experiences that are available when you have the contrast between love and fear. For if you were simply to acknowledge that there is only love, well, then you may as well stay in the form of a non-physical being, for that is the dimension that you came from. That is already what was. For this idea of fear, the resistance to the illusion of lacking love, is what helps you be human. Yes, so it does play an integral part. It was part of the design. It did not come about as a byproduct of, but it was part of the original design of this illusion, this delusion of separateness. And this is how you can forget everything, for fear helps you resist. If you are in resistance, then you are forgetting who you are, and then you may go on to have all these wonderful experiences of being a human. And yes, we understand that you think, oh, but wouldn't it be nice if everything was positive and lovely and heartwarming? Well, yes, but that is the life that you live as a soul. So wouldn't it be wonderful to have a contrast, to have a difference? And this is the delusion of separateness. And this is why fear is propagating and expanding on Earth so rapidly. And it has, because it is passed on generation to generation, and it does not take very long for humans to think that they are separate and to learn the separateness of living, because that is how you came in. It's part of the blueprint. So fear is not something to be feared or avoided, but rather to be recognized. And if you are at the point in your journey where you can actually recognize that fear is an illusion, rather than the wholeness of love that is, then you are on your journey as well, for you are starting to remember. And from the moment you chose to be human, you were on a journey of remembering. Fear, the longing, there is the idea of fear, the illusion of fear of separateness, but there is always this seedling in the back of your mind that there is something more. And part of that inkling is what keeps you going in the search for the not fear. How do I get over my fear? How do I find a solution or a answer to my fear? Well, humans continue to go along and think, well, if I have the house, if I have the horse or the car or the whatever it is, the mate, then I will not be in fear anymore and I will experience joy. But that's not what will fill that hole. It is simply the acknowledgement of the fear. It is simply acknowledging that in fear you are simply resisting the love. So, any moment that you are in fear for anything, it is simply a resistance. There is nothing to gain, nothing to get, nothing to find out or have more information from. It is simply the acknowledgement that you are disconnected in that moment. You are resisting. You have put up your umbrella to the flow, to the deluge of love that is available in any moment. But it is indeed, dear one, part of the design. We wanted you to have this inkling, this desire for more, that there is something I am missing, something I'm not seeing, because that keeps you on the journey of remembering, the longing, the searching, yes, the seeking. Yes, yes. For if you did not seek, well, you would simply live in fear. But the humanness in you wants to have the experience of being human and recognize who you truly are. And that is available the more you recognize who you are and acknowledge that the rest of it is simply an illusion. Yes. And as you can break the spell with yourself, you will start to notice when you are in fear or in resistance, and when you are in the downpour of love that is available. You will notice if you are the fish swimming around in the ocean, acknowledging that the water is all about you and through you, or if you are swimming about searching desperately for the water, thinking you are thirsty. But this is part of your journey. And the more you notice the moments that you are searching and resisting, and the moments that you are in flow and allowing, then you can recognize it in others. You see the connection in all. You recognize when someone else is pinched off or they have put up their barrier to love. And then you in turn, can choose. Will I, in this moment, choose compassion or will I add to the resistance? Yes, yes. And as this one has said, we never would condone not looking after your physical and mental well being, for this is part of being human, that you have compassion and self care for yourself. And this is adding the energy because that in itself is love without resistance. Taking care of yourself is an act of love, which is adding the energy of love to anything you are doing, including taking yourself or moving yourself away from somebody who is in resistance. Yes, you are then adding love to the resistance rather than adding more resistance. Yes, but then you have a choice, dear one, a choice, a choice. You can choose to come from love or fear in any moment, any moment, for both are available. Yes. Oh, we love you oh so much, dear humans. And we are enjoying these interactions immensely, and we love to watch and engage with you as you go through this wonderful path that you have chosen. Yes. Alrighty then. Mm. Yes. Okay. So everybody, that was today's video on that's interesting because I can still kind of remember what they said around the whole like, and they've said that before, where we come to Earth to forget or forgetting, because if we remembered the whole time, like if we were 24/7 connected to love, then we would still be that energy being. We wouldn't need to come to Earth. We wouldn't need the whole three-dimensional, physical, slow vibration thing. But we did. But fear keeps us looking for that connection again and again. That's interesting. Okay. So that is today's video. Please be sure to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and share with somebody who you think might be interested in this conversation. And as always, if you have questions that you want to address, or if you had a big insight, or you have questions about what we talked about today, by all means, leave them in the comments below, and I look forward to the next one. I will see you all soon.